People are getting the newest FSD version, but is anything noticeably different? Omar says, yeah, it drives better. He says it feels so good, and Dirty Tesla took his Tesla for a drive, and it had 0 interventions and felt great. The lane wobble seems way better. I have experienced this a few times as well, and I had a few issues with the curves before, but for him, it's good so far.
The last thing I want to say, there's some prominent Tesla people out there that have been saying version 12 is a better driver than they are. Now, sure, there are some bad human drivers out there, but the way I see it, I'll be honest, I consider myself to be an S-tier driver, and there is nothing that version 12 does better than me. And let me be clear, I'm obviously not expecting it to be right now, but it's not smoother, it's not more decisive. I just think anybody out there that's saying that is either 1, a bad driver, or 2, is being a bit disingenuous.
On average, I agree with Dylan. On average, there's nothing that FSD V12 right now does better than me on average. But there are moments when it realizes a few tiny things before I do. These don't happen very often, but they do happen, and when they do happen, I'm pleasantly surprised. There's one instance, though, where we could argue that bumper-to-bumper traffic is handled by FSD smoother than human driving. Mostly because if you sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic, sometimes you lose your focus and the cars start moving, and then maybe you want to go a bit faster, and therefore you press a bit too hard on the accelerator and the car is not as smooth as it could have been. Also, admittedly, when FSD did notice a few things before I did, I was jamming to the song from Michael Jackson and Justin Timberlake. So while I was focused on driving, I wasn't 100% focused just on driving. And specifically what it noticed was I was about to enter an intersection and there was a car coming out making a turn, and it seemed like maybe the car would make the turn a bit too wide getting into my lane, so I would want to slow down, but FSD started one tiny moment before I would have. Bank of America has lowered its Tesla stock price target to $220, down from $280. They say, we think that Tesla will face mounting profit pressure from a weaker demand environment unless Tesla taps into new geographical markets. We see it hard for the company to generate additional sales with its current product portfolio or without cutting price further, the bank said. Well, interestingly, Tesla's first Model 3 and Model Y units have landed in Chile as the company's efforts to begin ramping up EV sales in South America have officially begun. Also, the leader of Argentina is about to meet with Elon Musk in Texas, and we all know that Elon Musk is going to be visiting India later this month, so Tesla is entering new markets as we speak. Which other markets are they talking about? Africa? Morgan Stanley has a new Tesla stock. No, we believe Tesla, an auto company, may be unusually well positioned in the first 3 of the above attributes. So that's data, compute, and energy. Then they continue, but investors are struggling to see how the company can use its infrastructure and network to achieve a path to monetization. There are paths within transportation. Over 10 trillion miles are traveled annually in the global auto market, but FSD take rate and robotaxi may not move the needle significantly in the near term. That's all they care about, the near term, right? While August 8th may be important to the stock, positive or negatively, we are eager to hear about the next thing. There have been a lot of Morgan Stanley Tesla stock notes lately. And of course, they reiterated their $310 12-month price target. Tesla just launched a Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive in Europe. This is quite interesting. Cybertruck was launched, and then interest, of course, died down quite a bit. But then the interest started to accelerate again. It's almost like the more Cybertrucks are on the roads, the more people talk about the Cybertrucks, and the more people want to buy Cybertrucks. This is no coincidence. I have been expecting this. And of course, this is really good news for Cybertruck's demand in the long term. This is proof that people are actually really interested in the Cybertruck, and the initial hype, even though it has died down, it's coming back. For all who wonder why Tesla insiders are not buying stock given what is happening with FSD, Keep in mind that these guys for which trades would be disclosed, the top guys, all of which sit on dozens of millions in Tesla stock and in some cases hundreds of millions, and in Elon's case, many billions of dollars. Given their relatively small salaries in comparison, buying additional Tesla stock at current prices is barely needle moving for them. ARK Invest says that Tesla stock is going to $2,000 per share in 5 years, and they got a new blog post finding signal in noisy auto data. Since late 2023, media headlines have seized on data showing that electric vehicle sales growth decelerated in 2022 and 23 from 113% in 2021 to 59% and 28% on a year-over-year basis, respectively. Our research contextualizes this deceleration in growth and suggests that traditional automakers cutting back on EV investment are at risk of missing the transition altogether. It is a bit hard to believe that ICE vehicle sales actually grew year over year 9% in 2023, but that is going to be temporary. Seemingly more important than growth in measuring the health of the EV market, market share is sending signals that belie the media headlines. Importantly, as shown below, the sales of gas-powered vehicles peaked in 2017, displaced first by hybrids and plug-ins, then by fully electric vehicles. Between 21 and 23, electric vehicle sales roughly doubled from 4.8 million units to 10, increasing their share of the global vehicle market roughly from 6% to 12%. By the way, if you take hybrids out of the calculations, it doesn't seem like they had year-over-year growth if we just look at pure ICE vehicles. But I would say hybrids, if you cannot plug them in, yeah, that's a gas-powered car with regen braking, basically. Media pundits and many investors fail to appreciate the nuances of adoption curves involved in the process of disruptive innovation. Perhaps counterintuitively, growth rates typically decline as the market scales into a new technology, as shown below. In other words, everything is going according to ARK Invest's plan. Decelerating growth does not suggest that new products, including EVs, are losing mass market appeal. Quite the contrary. At only 13% share of the global market, EVs seem to be entering, not ending, a traditional adoption curve as shown below. Perhaps exacerbating the analytical challenge, the auto market is not a monolith. Different vehicle segments and price points come into play as time passes. Each time an EV launches into a new segment with a lower price point, another adoption curve begins. Ultimately, each segment curve aggregates to the total adoption chart shown above. Clearly, growth will flatline as EVs approach 100% of the market. The key question is, can the industry continue to produce increasingly affordable EVs profitably, taking market share from gas-powered vehicles? We believe that the answer is yes, and I fully agree with that. For those companies investing aggressively now, now is the keyword, as we explain in another article to be published soon. Stay tuned. I expect them to publish their new 5-year Tesla stock price target before the end of April.